Hi there, everyone. Nice to see you all, and thank you for joining us on this incredible, lovely day here. So, this show is to introduce you to the people and ideas that will encourage you to step into your power and live a magnificent life. And I have the absolute privilege and honor of my incredible friend, coach, mentor, the incredible Ollie Trew with us today. So, Ollie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Nice to see you. Awesome, Kirsty. Great to be here.
How are you? You're somewhere in Romania in the mountains.
Very, very good. Very good. We are in the Romanian mountains. Bit of skiing, coaching, relaxing. I always say this to you: lifestyle first over business. So the personal side of things first over business. Because once you've got that sorted, you're really, really set, and everything you do on a daily basis is really, really fun.
And before we go back into your past, that's what you're literally passionate about creating. You know, you and your beautiful partner, Denisa, love to travel, love to experience life, and that you've literally, the pair of you are literally building a business so that enable you to travel the world, basically.
Yeah, exactly. For me, it's, I think we forget when we get into business in the first place what it's all about and why we got into it. So we all get a bit busy, get a bit started. Kirsty, you know the feeling very, very well because we've done some beautiful work together. And we begin to have way, way less freedom and free time. You know that feeling when we first start business. I mean, you're literally working 24/7, especially when there's only one of you, to try and get your business, and if it's a coaching business, off the ground. And in doing that, all of this beautiful freedom, all this stuff about traveling, about that free time, about having your own business, having the flexibility, all of that stuff goes out of the window. And so for me, it's really, really important that as soon as possible, no matter what stage we are in business, we get back to that space where we have at least some of the stuff that we love to do, at least some of the hanging out with our partners, at least some of seeing our beautiful friends in life as well. And I'm all about priorities, Kes. We talk about this quite a lot. You know, you put your business as a priority or you put your relationship as a priority, that creates the result that you want. But at the same time, without any sort of balance, without some stuff that you want to do on a personal level, the business isn't really worth it in the first place.
Well, I was a massive culprit of that, and it's only now, through years of failing forward, that I'm actually at a point where I'm like, okay, yeah, I get this balance thing, because I was, when I get to, I will do this. And you never actually get to that point, and it's that striving, and you almost put your life on hold. I could actually, in my first business that I did, I can actually look back and go, do you know what? 2 years of my life was literally striving. And actually, I look back and I go, what did I actually do in those 2 years? So, yeah, and Ollie is a huge, like, you are a massive inspiration to me, because this is what myself and Ian want to create for our family, to be able to travel. And seeing you and Denisa being able to, you know, fit the two in and have it all sort like in flow. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's just incredibly
So
inspiring.
let's be real and vulnerable, because that's where all the best kind of like interviews and stuff go as well. So, and the illusion is it's a bed of roses. The look on the outside is it's a bed of roses. And I'm often thinking, as is Denisa, when we do Instagram posts or we do Facebook posts as well, shall we show more of the ins and outs of when we argue or what happens or what goes on? Because sure as hell it happens. We had one last night on the way to the cinema. I was doing a business focused thing. She wanted to get to the cinema on time, so we had a little kerfuffle. I call it a huffle puffle. Basically, make it really, really like non-big. Make everything. We make things that are small big, right? And we make big things that are really important small. But I would be lying if I said the lifestyle is incredible. It's beautiful. We get to do what we do. We travel to Thailand. We have Mexico coming up, the retreat side of things as well. But beneath the surface, this is what's really, really going on for every single coach and healer out there as well. There's a lot of good stuff, and then there's a lot of tricksy stuff on growing. And that's where I believe that spiritual aspect and the coaching aspect combined together. Because if we're not doing that internal work, if we're not growing and releasing stuff, we stay at one level of vibration, one level of life and point of attraction. So for us, behind the scenes, when you don't see all of these posts, we will be meditating, we may be arguing, something might be happening, we might be releasing stuff, we might be going out for a clear our hearts and our heads after a deep coaching session. And I think this is the reality of it that's not really talked about enough.
And that's a shame, because again, you know, when in the early days, you'd look on Facebook, you'd look on Instagram, and you'd be like, wow, they've got such incredible lives. Mine isn't like that. Comparison, beat yourself up, and it just becomes this spiral, and you're not really seeing the behind the scenes part. You're only seeing people's highlights. So, you know, thank you for sharing that, Ollie. You're just like us.
But you know, Kirsty, the absolutely, and this is the thing. It doesn't matter what you've achieved in life, in business, no matter what you've done in fitness levels or traveling the world levels as well. That touch of humility, that ability to say we're all like one another, to meet like a pig. Pigs can't look up or down. Don't know if you knew. They can only look square on. So if you meet like a pig, a lot of people, a lot of my mentors, actually previous mentors in particular, look down at you like a cat. They look down at you like a cat. And then we look up like dogs. The pigs meet eye to eye, square on. And that's very powerful. That's very humble. That's very beautiful. That's where kindness comes into the equation as well. And that's where, when working with people like yourself, Kirsty, as well, we say, am I in coach mode? Am I in kindness mode, heart to heart mode? Am I in mentor mode? Am I in friend mode? And I think it's very powerful to switch between these different gears. But you always have like a little tiny boundary between that professional space of actually doing your coaching or doing your business and having a deep level friendship. Because it is a deep level friendship. But the point I wanted to make is, well, what I was going to actually say is that the vulnerability and sharing that vulnerability online, I think, is very, very difficult for a lot of people, and I think is very, very misconstrued. I could share something about how, you know, my business is not going well for a week or a couple of weeks, and the truth be told, but if we do that, it doesn't necessarily inspire people to work with us on the business front. So vulnerability is super, super selective when we use it, when we don't use it, how much of a context we give to that vulnerability. And I see one or two peers, friends, colleagues who do well, but they could do so much better if they weren't transparent in every single area of their life. So it's a very, almost like it's complex, but it's a fine line.
Very much a fine line. Wow. Okay, so let's take ourselves back. So Ollie, you've not always been a coach. You've had a really colourful and really exciting sort of past, really. Do you want to talk us through how you actually got into coaching, what the stepping stones that got you there?
Glad you think so, first of all, with my yellow coloured flask as we do this interview.
I've got my rainbow mug here.
What does yours say? I'm awesome.
I'm so awesome, I poop rainbows. What's in your drink?
Water and whiskey.
Awesome.
No, it's just water. Just purely water. So let me take you back to a space where I was let's say like a really pretty insecure 18, 19-year-old. I was at university. I went to Newcastle University. I wanted to fit in. Like everybody, I was working out where my place in the world was, what I was all about. When I was a little bit younger, I wanted to be a champion break dancer. When I was about 15, 16, all I had in my heart was this. I'd say to Dad the whole time, take me out. I want to go break dancing. I'm going to be the world's best break dancer. I declared myself as the world's best break dancer.
Could you break dance?
I'm okay at break dancing, but let's just say not anywhere. Yeah, exactly. Not anywhere near a level with beatboxing and with coaching and with the stuff that's naturally adept. So the interesting thing is I declared myself as the world's best break dancer, but I didn't take the actions required to feel the resistance, the pain, the pressure, and to move through that, and the consistency to practice every single day with breakdancing. So that kept me my first taste of what that was like. I heard someone beatboxing. They were doing some crazy porn star sounds and beatboxing and singing. I was like, this is amazing. So I heard that and I thought, this is incredible, and immediately had this sense of, I can't do that. I can't do that. I'm going to watch you, but how could I ever do that? How could I ever be this incredible person that you are, making all these incredible sound effects? And a few years later, I was with a girlfriend at the time. I went to see Roselle perform on stage. He's an amazing beatboxer. He puts singing, he puts lyrics together. I sat there in the audience. She said, are you coming home? It's like, no, I'm staying. I'm watching this till the end. And I loved every single second of it. And the next day I woke up, broke up with this girlfriend. She wanted to go back. I didn't want to go back for sex and whatever else. I wanted to stay in beatbox. That's how beatboxing was like sex right from the go. It probably still is in some senses. And I'm like, I started making fart sounds the next day. So my mates are coming in my room, this at university, and there I am making little fart sounds into the microphone. And I know somewhere inside, just like you with coaching, Kirsty, I know somewhere inside me that this is going somewhere fantabulous. I don't know where, I don't know how, but I just know that I'm going to stick with this, and it's going to lead to something freaking mind-blowing and incredible.
Wow. And you knew that right from day dot. It was like all in you.
With the beatboxing, I mean, it was a little, I think it's a really important thing to say. I help people with a bit of purpose side of things and getting into that purpose and that flow, as do you. It's not usually a love affair straight away. It's an infatuation straight away. It's like I'm infatuated by coaching, beatboxing, this woman, this man. But actually after that stage, then there's a little practical application to say, okay, how do I fare? How do I do? Does this really work? Am I making any improvements over the course of the week? First week, I probably didn't make any improvements, but I really, really enjoyed it. And then the next week, I started to get a few sound effects, a few very, very simple sound effects down. And I began to have friends, most importantly, turn around to me and be like, Ollie, we want to go out. And not being funny, but all you want to do is beatbox. Everywhere we go, you beatbox, you practice, you do this stuff. And I was like, you know what, guys, like this is a bit of a funny moment, because I would choose beatboxing over you guys any day. And I had this real teary moment, in fact, quite a few teary moments, where I'm in my room at university and I'm by myself and I'm thinking, I haven't got any friends in the world right now, but I know I'm meant to do this beatboxing thing. And I wasn't true. I mean, I had beautiful people in my world, but I was obsessed. And I see this with all of the great Olympic athletes and all of the people that do well in any industry. One of the key components is that obsession. That obsession means that no matter how much other coaches or people are doing their thing, I'm also obsessed with coaching, you constantly grow, and your learn rate is much, much higher than other people's. So I really, really advocate this. This is my core component. So I changed my friendship group, and I went from beatboxing at one level to performing on stages, performing around the country. I had a band. Got paid a lot of money to perform on stage for maybe half an hour, like £300 for half an hour. It's pretty decent. So do that, you get a lot of attention in the crowd, and I really belonged. That was the important thing, right? I stood out, I belonged. So the reason I actually became such a high level of beatboxer is from that driving force, that driving pain inside me, which is hard to take ownership of even now. That was, I really, really want to fit in. I want to be somebody. I want to stand out. And that's how the beatboxing occurred. That's how it happened.
So do you feel that everyone's got this drive inside of them? Because, you know, some people may watch this and go, wow, you are obviously like a highly motivated, highly driven, know what you want kind of guy. I'm not like that. Or, you know, them saying that I'm not like that. How is that innate in you, or is that learned behavior?
It's a super great question, Kirst. Goes to show how awesome you are as a host. So everybody has that little spark of magic. That's the way I like to see it, way to describe it. But there is more to that than meets the eye. If you look at someone like Chris Eubank, he's a good example of that. If you look at some of the great football players out there, because of the magic of the industry, when you do get in the team, when you make a lot of money as a footballer, there's something about your confidence. It's like there's an ego level, but there's a soul level to it as well that is sky high. There is a magic, je ne sais quoi, about these people that are in absolute flow about what they do and what they truly love to do. But most of us are not anywhere near honest enough about ourselves, about our relationships, about what we love to do, about our passion, our purpose. We all have it.
Why do you think that is, Ollie? Why are we not honest? Why are we... Oh, is it hiding? Is it we're scared to step out? Is it scared to go against the grain? What would you say that is?
Just before I go into why it might be, I think I want to articulate what it looks like if you're looking for it. If you're listening back or if you're watching back and you're thinking about what does that magic look like, go and see some of the people that you really not idolize. I don't want you to idolize anybody listening, and I want you to see like a pig, eye to eye. People are just human beings.
Everyone is a pig. Love that. Yeah.
You know, I'm a human being, you're a human being, so is Barack Obama. Everybody out there is a human being. They're just well practiced and well conditioned. If you look for that magic thing in some of the people that you don't idolize, but you look up to, you will feel and see and feel that sense of that energy, of that passion. And I promise you this, people at the top of any industry have some level of obsession. Obsession is an absolute core component to that stuff. So if you're not obsessed with what you do, find a way to integrate the personal and the business so that even when you don't feel like it on your down days, and especially on your Saturday and your Sunday, you feel like coaching. You don't know why, but you just feel like coaching. I'm at the top of the mountain skiing and I feel like coaching. That's obsession. That's core. So what you'll see with all of these people is this little obsessive ingredient, but you'll also feel the magic of listening to them in an interview. And the person I'd recommend, really, really can't encourage enough, is Chris Eubank. Listen to Chris Eubank in some of his interviews. The guy is full of magic. You will feel the energy. You'll feel the vibration.
And that's really interesting because Ollie says to me a lot, Kirsty, be more Marmite. And I think Chris Eubank is the epiphany of, or epitome even, of Marmite. Some people love him. Some people really can't stand the man because of who he is and how he is. So would you say that that's what you're kind of almost looking to be like if you are obsessed with what you do?
This is super, super important. You cannot have a core component like obsession and think that there aren't going to be sacrifices, think that there aren't going to be people offended by the whole thing. It even happens on a ground level with me and Denisa. It's like she'll want to do something and I'll be like, no, I'm working, I'm focused, I'm in momentum, I'm in flow. That is obsession coming into it as well. There are sacrifices. You can't always be out every weekend, walking the dog, so to speak, or even spending time with family and friends as well. The obsession means this is where my focus is right now in order to create those results. Yes, I'm for balance. Yes, I'm for scheduling those in the diary. But there's some level of sacrifice involved. And that sacrifice will mean that people will feel that. You're in a rush. They want to stop. They want to talk. They want to have that time. That's going to marmitize. That's going to polarize those people. Equally, when you speak about raising your game, what I've discovered is that people think that you're on a particular level in life or in business. They see you, like Kirsty, yourself rising up into the world of coaching and doing incredible things there. They see you at a particular level. And as you rise up higher, many people will hold you to the same place as they did for me as well, of being this level of person, this level of coach. The truth is we don't get different results by being the same person. When we shift to be that different level of person, we have that different level of belief. We've created ourselves that way. Some people call it acting. It can be a little bit like acting because you put yourself on that big stage, as Chris Eubank calls it, and Shakespeare calls it as well. And you act that level of confidence and you act that level of integrity until at some point you actually become that person. And there is some truth to that. There is definitely some truth to that aspect.
And that's it. You have to be it before you have it. It's not have, do, be. It's the be, the do, and then you have the thing, the level, whatever it is. Okay, so
this part here, Kirst, is the reason most people I see struggle to build a profitable coaching business that works and that they love doing 24/7. That's one of the main reasons. They're still the same person they were last year. They're still the same person they were 6 months ago. And that doesn't mean that all aspects are the same, but there's certain key component aspects that have to shift, like worthiness, which is a really classic one, haven't shifted. And how do you shift worthiness? Just a real simple pointer around this kind of thing. Stop focusing on shifting worthiness. I've really come to this conclusion after a period of time. Does that sound really funny? Worthiness is not an area to get too hung up on shifting. It's just about focusing on the confidence and focusing on the doing and the being and here and so on and so forth. And before you know it, I am worthy and I can attract all of these incredible people into my world. I am abundant and I am this. Then you come back to the worthiness and you pretty much laugh and you go, hey ho. Because this is the trick with all of this, to be able to shift and change. It's very, very subtle. It requires ourselves to create ourselves every day as the person that we're becoming, and then step into we had a little freezer moment, but have the courage to step into the actions required to create ourselves as that person. It's like baking a cake. There are core components if you want to be a coach or have a service-based industry. People miss those core components and therefore they don't get the results they want year on, year out.
it's about doing the work on yourself, isn't it? Without a shadow of a doubt. And you know, you may hear the statement, work harder on your business, sorry, work harder on yourself than you do on your business, because it's that be, do, have again, isn't it? Okay, so moving on from your beatboxing, what did you come away from that then? Because it sounds like you made a real success out of it. You were passionate about it. You were obsessed with it. You were in flow with it. So what made the shift from beatboxing to, it was film, wasn't it?
Yeah. So actually what happened with beatboxing is I didn't look after my voice. I didn't look after my number one tool, basically. And I had a thing called, and let's see, it shouldn't come up right now. Occasionally I'll get something. If I mention it, it'll come up and I'll get this throat chakra stuff coming off. But it was called dysphonia. And dysphonia is where you have a lot of emotions and trapped emotions in your voice. You're not expressing. And so what I would do is I would go to gigs and I'd have this lemon tea and I'd be sat at the back, called the poshest beatboxer in Newcastle, which is another story. That's always quite fun. And I'd have to beatbox 4 bouncers to let me into the nightclub. That was always a fun game. You're not coming in here, posh boy. It's like, I'm performing in 10 minutes. Can I come in? I do a little beatbox. But my voice is really sore. And so I had to have speech therapy. I got to a point where I was like, and I had tears and I was whiny and I was quite victim and I was all this kind of stuff that I now know not to be very good. And I now know I would have found a way through that. And then for many years after beatboxing, I was like, this is my love, even to my ex-girlfriend's mum, who's sadly not around anymore. She was one of my first spiritual teachers. I'd say to her the whole time, if only I could go back into beatboxing. And I always had this, my voice thing. On another level, I believe that we're here for specific purposes, lessons, the soul's journey. I believe very much in pre-soul plan in terms of some of the stuff being predestined, like even this conversation right now, Kirsty. And with that in mind, I also believe that I was supposed to leave beatboxing in order to transition my way across eventually to film production and then to coaching. I know this with every fiber of my being. And now, so film production was then to make money. To skip to that chapter, I was like, I want to make money. I work with corporates, lots of networking events. It's very stable. It's awesome. I got to travel and I loved it to an extent. You know, I got to travel to Africa, to Mozambique, to film farmers in their fields. A dream come true for a lot of people, being paid tens of thousands of pounds for just one project. You know, to go out there, it's just in your bank balance. You're thinking, well, this is dreamy. This is pretty special. But it wasn't my highest alignment. It wasn't my deepest love. And I was not honest with myself for a long period of time. There were films that I still make and do occasionally that I really love, that are right up there. They're usually very creative. I have a lot of license to do things. And it was my dad's dream as well. That's another thing that I should bring in at this point. My dad's vision, and it still is to this day, is that you should be a Hollywood producer, film producer. I see this in you. That's his dream. That's his vision. And so it's very fascinating that I fell into that. I had an amazing girlfriend. I never speak badly about anybody that I've been with in a relationship at all. I've never ended a relationship badly at all. Right from day dot, from 16 or whatever, whether I was hurt, they were hurt, or both. For me, it's about not necessarily a friendship, but having a beautiful, peaceful ending where you can talk things out, where you can communicate things.
That's a very mature thing to do, especially, you know, when you're younger and you're hurt. So where's that ethic, moral from?
Honestly, my mum.
Right.
Like straight down the line, people talk about this stuff as well. My mum on this soul's journey was brought here to be a mum. She's had 5 kids, my 3 little sisters. I love all of my family to bits. I've done a lot of healing on that front to be able to mean that my perception and how I perceive and experience my family wasn't always easy, is as great as it could be. But my mum is one of the most unconditionally loving, beautiful people that I know. She's incredible. Oh. And I've come to realize that what I admire in some of my coaches and my mentors that I gravitate towards is that they have an incredible relationship with their other half. They have a great relationship with their family, and they're always working on those aspects. We think if we're in business coaching or if we're in health coaching, we think it's about that. But relationships are the single biggest area of growth. And so if those aren't working, that's hugely toxic to everything that we do in business. So for me, I had this big inspiration from mum. I was a forceps birth. So I had a lot of trauma when I go back to birth, and I had a lot of things to heal on that front. I also had a lot of mollycoddling also from mum as well. I love her to pieces, but I had a lot of that stuff. And I want to be down the line so that it gives other people permission, listening back to this, to be able to be open about their stories. And so what that meant is that my independence was put into question as well. So I had a lot of great ingredients, but I had a lot of not so good ingredients. We're all given that's exact our version of those ingredients. And then it's up to us to say, what do I truly, truly desire in life? And how prepared am I to commit every single day, come rain or come shine, and show up? Because that's really important, whether we feel like it or not. Big, big thing.
That's a crucial one, isn't it? It's not about feeling good, I'll do the work. Not feeling good, I'll just leave it. It has to be every single day, consistently. But what do you do, Ollie? Just going off a bit, so we don't all wake up, and I talk about this all the time. We don't all wake up feeling amazing, feeling full of the joys of life, ready to get going. What do you do to condition yourself to get into that state to go and do the work?
First of all, I like to sit in it sometimes. First of all, I like to sit in it sometimes. I really, I didn't used to, but it's very powerful. All of these noisy voices going off inside our heads. Ollie, you're not good enough. I still get this now. Who are you? Imposter syndrome. We all get this kind of stuff as well as you're leveling up, as you're growing up as well. You haven't done enough today. You need to do more. All of these things. I like to sit in that sometimes. I sit, I go for a walk. I sometimes laugh. The most important thing and the biggest tidbit that I can give you, and we probably talked about this, or anyone listening, be the observer and practice being the observer the whole time. We talk about meditation, we talk about morning rituals. Life, if it is a meditation, that shifts everything. Life as a meditation is one of my absolute favorite things. So I normally do a morning ritual. This morning I woke up, I was like, okay, haven't got that much time before we speak on this interview, but I 100% unconditionally love myself. I have a mantra, which is don't beat myself up. I don't do that. If I don't do something that I want to do, I look at it and I say, I wasn't committed enough to doing that thing. Why wasn't I committed? Let me go into this. And so whilst I have rituals and preparations, and I know you're very big on this as well, if I don't do them for some reason, I won't beat myself up, and I'll hop back on the horse and I will do it later. For example, even after this call, I might do another meditation. But if you are living life as a meditation every single day, stuff comes up, you don't feel productive, you sit in it. We all have 15 minutes, half an hour, even an hour to sit with something, to journal on something, to find a way through something. But when we force it, when we say, fuck off, get out of my head, get out of my head, get out of my head, this stupid voice, I don't want to do this, and then when your partner comes in and you know this feeling, or when the kids come in, or when somebody else comes in as well, it's like, that's where it's like, it's amplified.
Yeah.
But even then, we can still be the observer. We can still, I go back and spend a bit of time with mum and dad. I call that soul training. It's very special. Go back and spend time with them. And if they're arguing or something, the soul training for me is to just be peaceful on the inside. I am peaceful while the car could be moving at 1,000 miles an hour. I think that's the ultimate practice. And I think it's incredibly powerful for coaches, because people feel who we be, not who we say we be. They feel who we be, not who we say we be. We can say whatever we like, but they'll feel who we be.
Yeah, you can feel the difference in the words when the words are out of alignment with how they're they're getting the vibe from you. Something just doesn't match up, and you're kind of like scratching heads thinking, but I said all the things that I was supposed to say and what they wanted to hear. But when the feeling is, it's just all out of sync, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a really beautiful point, Kirsty, as well. This is where, as coaches, any coaches listening, and I'm sure you have a few of that audience as well, to be bold, to be courageous. That's what it means to me to be an incredible coach, to speak out exactly what you see. When you see someone who seems out of integrity, or when you see someone that is, there's something not right, you don't get all of them. It's like, I can't see you, I can't get access to them. I see it as a responsibility to tell them on some level. That's where you develop courage. Courage is a practice like everything else. And courage means you face fear. We talk about fear the whole time, but the core component to overcome fear is courage. Just as simple as that. Can you sit in the fear? Can you handle it? A practice to do that is you see something that you think can really, really help somebody. And people talk about permission to coach. I don't buy it. I'm not about that. I'm about emotional intelligence. If emotionally I've tested the waters and someone's really anti-coaching, I'm like, no problem. If I've tested it, they're interested, I might test a bit more and a bit more. Why have that static human conversation with words when we can actually have soul-shifting transformation, even with somebody in the supermarket, just through our state of being and just from having a smile with them as well? Hey, I'm not going to ask someone who's putting the Belvita biscuits back on the shelf if I can coach her. You know this thing? I posted about this, and this polarized a lot, wound a lot of coaches up in the process. I'm like, oh, can I coach? No, you don't need to do that. Just, can I make her world a little bit better through my being? Which, if you're being that person, you're being yourself fully, you'll help them in the process if they're open to it in some capacity.
Yeah, because asking them, can I coach you? It's just getting their, hold on, I don't need coaching. It's just getting their guard up, isn't it? And it's not a flowy conversation, and it's not going to hit the spot that you want it to hit.
That's exactly it. Think about, we're connecting, we're meeting a networking meeting, Kirsty, and I say, hey, and then I ask you, what do you do? That's a blocker conversation. That's not a flowy conversation. There's a pause, then the person gets into a rhetoric, whereas what do you love to do kind of opens up the heart space. So our questions are super, super important, as you know, but half the time we don't need questions. Don't always need questions. We could just flow. And as you're doing here, and as I'm doing, hopefully in this interview, taking an interest in the other person. And obviously we know each other from the deep work that we do, but really just taking that interest. That's really all there is to growing a successful business. Caring beyond a level where anybody else would dare to go to on that caring level. You care so much that I'm prepared to share this with you because I think it's holding you back from your highest truth. And the other person is like, oh, holy fuck. And they may like it or they may not. That's how you polarize.
Interesting. Do you know what? It's interesting because a couple of years back, or a year, 18 months now probably, I was at your retreat out in Thailand.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Talk about doing the work on yourself, peeling back the layers. And on the last day, it was like, who's this Ollie? Because the whole time you'd been sort of this nurturing, you know, pulling out the crap that's stuck in you. And then last day it was like we were literally writing an action plan out, and we were all exhausted because we had gone through this like 9 days of detoxing, working on ourselves, emotional, peeling back the layers, finding things that you didn't even know about yourself. And then on the last day you literally shifted, and it made me go, I don't know if I like this Ollie. Do you know, I've not shared this with you actually. And
I love it. I love that this has come out right now.
Yeah, I know. You just went into like, right, get it done. Come on. Almost just really massively assertive, and a side that I've not seen. And I was like, hold on a minute, Ollie. We've had a bit of a hard time. You know, this was my sort of, hold on a minute here. You know, this has been a tough old 9 days. I'm barely trying to put a sentence together, and you're wanting us to like crack on with this action plan so that we've got something to go away with. And it was just the energy that you exuded, and I was like, is he pissed off with us? Is he? And now I look back, and it was you. I see it that you had to be like that because we were so like, you know, like exhausted by it all. It was like, right, let's push them a little bit further to see how far they can go and what they can produce from that. So, you know, it's just really beautiful to see the different aspects, you know, living with you, being with you all day, you know, going through these workshops, just seeing the different aspects of Ollie as a coach and friend, but more so coach at that point.
You know, what it is for me is this. Without the elastic bands, the tension in the elastic band, if we took that elastic band, without that consistent tension, we never grow. And so what I was seeing most likely, I think being comedian-like and adapting, first of all, we get energy from what we love to do. Let's not beat around the bush with this as well. If you get energy from doing interviews like Kirsty's doing, or me being on here as well, you're in the right place. You're in a potential flow state. You can follow that line. If you get energy from videos, awesome. If you don't get energy from it, you know, park it. With the retreat side of things as well, I felt like the tension, the elastic band, it wasn't necessarily there on the final day, and I wanted to stretch it. And Thailand is probably the most intense deep dive work that we do, because How often do you get to travel to paradise, the hero's journey, the 11-hour flight that people talk about quite a lot, and the feeling and the butterflies and the nerves and the excitement and all that stuff that comes up. And then you get to Thailand, we go through this stepping into your power ritual and cleaning out all the muck, as you know, and juicing, and all the emotions go sky high. But that last part is where I'm aware, Kirsty, as well, that you and the others might just leave saying, this is a beautiful holiday. And that's the very last thing that I want from you, from a place of love. See, it's not about me and Denise. It's about actually, are you going to take this stuff and are you going to apply this? Are you going to go home and you're going to actually action this? And so I think a little bit of me is always in a kind of tough love place at the end. You could argue that it's a blanket moment. You know, at the end, we've had all this experience. Let's have a big hug at the end. But I'm always conscious that people watch YouTube videos. People have coaching sessions. 80% of seminars and coaching sessions is not used, would you believe?
Yeah.
It's there, but people have the insight, but the insight's not enough. Knowledge is not power. When has this saying got around that knowledge is power? It's not. Action is power. Aligned action is ultimate power.
For sure. Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, it was, Thailand, magnificent and challenging and emotional. Oh my goodness. But yeah, peeled away layers, and it almost is highlighted as well. The work never gets done. You know, it's like, that's a deep dive, you know, a full-on immersion, but then you have to keep doing the work, because it's not like, right, I made it, I've peeled it all back, now I can keep going, because other situations happen and you've got to heal that, and it's just a constant wheel. But I think it is and it isn't. I mean, the crucial thing that happens in Thailand that I see above all else, and this is where it's way above and beyond me and Denise, is most of us are taught to add on more. We're taught to have much more, and on a spiritual level, I think this is really beautiful as well. Add on, learn more, accumulate general knowledge. Big mistake. General knowledge is a classic one. I know it's interesting to learn about history, all kinds of things. But really what's beautiful about Thailand, and you probably experienced this, Kirsty, it's about stripping us back to our level of resilience, our bare level. So when we're tired as well, it's not that we deliberately go about this tiredness, but it does happen inevitably. We've been running, we've been juicing, we've been training, we've been doing all these meditational workshops. You're tired. You're at your bare level. That means what you care about is much less. Your willpower is much less. Yes. So there is a little logic to this as well, that is, you're at that kind of tired point. Now, at that place, you're able to strip things back as long as you can remain self-aware enough to say, this person or that thing is really important to me or isn't really important to me. And we also get to test out and override the emotions, because the emotional center is basically saying, fuck you, Ollie, pretty much. Well, the emotional center, and it less so with Denise because she's more nurturing about it, but it's saying enough of this, or whatever, I had enough, or I'm going out. We actually had one person walk out of the retreat this year, the year just gone past, the second year gone past. We did a lot of magic together. We created this incredible experience. But I was really grateful for the fact that she honored her truth. She honored where she was. She honored where she got to. When one person is not aligned, because it's a big family in Thailand, that affects the overall group. When everybody is marching together on the horse, we create incredible transformation. Not to say it's like a boot camp, because it has an element to that, and it has a hugely loving element as well. But it's about simplicity. It's about stripping it back. And in order to strip back, we have to touch your ego and everybody else's ego, and you will hold on. And we all hold on, right? It's like, no, I'm going to hold on to this. This is my identity. This is who I am. But when we have no labels, that's when I think we can be truly free. I'm not a vegetarian. I'm not this. I mean, even I am a coach. It's very interesting, isn't it? All of these kind of things. So for me, I like to say, I am, when you strip back and you do your best not to attach to any particular label. So a lot of Thailand, I think, for us is peeling back the layers to get back to simplicity of where you can operate and feel joy and feel happiness. And your face afterwards, Kirsty, was just beautiful on that front as well. The lightness, probably the relief that there wasn't any more gauntlet as well, but the lightness of it. Yeah, and it's interesting how, like you say, the face, obviously skin changed because we've been detoxing and, you know, it got rid of all the impurities. But the lightness, people like morphed into a younger version of themselves, didn't they? It was incredible, like, to actually see it for yourself and in your, you know, in your own eyes, because it's a bit tricky because you don't really see it massively in yourself, but with other people, it was like my friend Sam was there, and I've known Sam for a couple of years. I was like, Sam, look at you. And she's like, I know. It's, yeah, beautiful. So, Ollie, I'm just really conscious of time. So my final question to you, we could carry on, but we won't. We'll, maybe another time. What is your definition of a magnificent life?
It's a great question. You told me about this at the beginning, and I said, Kirsty, for everyone listening, tuning in, I was like, wow, magnificent life. Well, that is the question. The most magnificent life is a life where you're living, in my books, on your terms, where you get to call the shots, where you get to say to yourself, if variety is your spice like me, I'm going to go coaching up a mountain. I'm going to go running. I'm going to go coaching up a mountain. Money is an incredibly useful tool, and I think it's incredibly powerful. It's an amplifier, as is PR, as is press. The single most important thing in my books is that you're living every day with something purposeful, and you're feeling happy and, better still, fulfilled every single day. And if you're not, then the simplest way in my books to do that is to have a default diary, is to say, how many days do I really want to work a week? How many clients do I want to work with? And so for me, that's been absolutely transformational. Just saying, what do I truly want in my world? And now currently for me and Denise, that's traveling, that's going to the beach, that's doing Thailand, that's doing our Mexico retreats. But, you know, it may not be that forever, but in the moment, if you can create fulfillment and purpose every single day, that is the most magnificent life. And people ask you left, right, and center, what are you doing? Or is that easy for you? And what we tend to do is we make ourselves small, if you felt this thing. We don't want them to feel like we're above them, right? But that's where I encourage everybody to shine, let your light out, be a freaking lighthouse. Don't be it all at once, because people are going to be like, oh, he's a dick. You know, it's too much. But let that lighthouse out, because then that people I've met on the ski slopes, for example, in the cabin car, and they're like, wow, you really do this. We're a couple of lawyers. I met a couple of vets. They're traveling. They want to make it work as well. It's like, this is possible for every single industry. I'll say that again, every single industry. Okay. And I'd love to be challenged that in some capacity. These vets are looking into training other vets to be authorities in the veterinary world. So from what I can see, there's always an avenue, whether it's a product-based business or a service-based business. If you're a doctor, of course, you can be one of the world's leading consultants around the world. Someone I work with around cakes, for example, I've given her some guidance to become one of the leading consultants when it comes to a particular type of cake around the world, so that she gets called up for all the podcasts, all the interviews. So any industry can have this purpose, this passion, and live a magnificent life as a result.
Boom. No more words. So, Ollie, how can people get in touch with you, connect with you? Where can they find you?
The easiest thing in the world is personal connection. I love it. I deliberately don't have business cards. I don't spend a ton of time fanning around with stuff online. I always encourage perfect imperfection and action. So the easiest thing is just for you, Kirsty, for example, or for a personal message on Facebook. That's probably the easiest way to reach out to me. Just say, hey, Ollie, enjoyed your interview, or didn't like this bit. I'd love to hear about some of those challenging things, or challenge you on this particular aspect, because that's how we really grow, when we have those aspects.
Fabulous. So a private message to you, send it to me through Ollie. Ollie, thank you so much for your energy, for your light, for your knowledge, wisdom. Really appreciate the time with you. And yes, I know that loads of people are going to get in touch with you and just say hi. So thank you so much.
Because there's one thing that we should say before we sign out, though, which is the retreat side of things that we've been speaking about in Thailand as well. I don't want to give the impression that it's a boot camp where it's all hardcore and it's all this, that, and the other, because it is also the most loving space that I know personally in the world. And so whilst I'm all about polarizing and putting off, I just want anybody to know listening who might be interested in Thailand and stepping into their power on that front. It's also a beautiful, beautiful, loving space.
Oh, it really is. I mean, just to finish on that, the people that we were with on the retreat, they know the deepest, darkest part of me and the lightest part of me as well. And we have literally become family, even though, you know, we don't speak all the time. We've just got this beautiful connection. And you're so right. It sounds really cliche, Ollie, but you do become a family very, very, very quickly. You get there's no small talk. It's people are there to change themselves, to transform themselves, but also to help transform others, because the more you transform, the more it'll help that other person too. So it is an incredible, beautiful, loving environment of doing the work and having fun and eating beautiful foods, drinking beautiful drinks. Yeah, so I would highly recommend it. So anyone wants a testimonial, anyone wants more information, I'm
well, here's how it's so beautiful as a little tip pointer, and we could go on forever. We'll wrap it up in a minute. But for me, that's one of the most powerful things, that we're talking about Thailand now. In doing so, we get transported on a vibrational level towards Thailand, that creation, the beach, right? And this is how I create my business, our lifestyle, and how I encourage everybody to do on a daily basis as well. At the very least, speak out what you truly desire. Write it out, speak it out every day. Feel it, visualize it, focus on those things. Don't allow the other things in your world, the voices, the family, the friends, those voices, to have any real sizable impact of any shape or form. When you stay focused on the yellow flask, you will manifest the yellow flask. It may appear red at first, but then it's up to us to say, actually, I'm not going to settle for red. I'm going to stay with the yellow. And I'm going to continue to say yellow, yellow, yellow. And so this is my probably the most important thing that I'm going to say in this entire interview, is that if you're building a heart-based business, which I'm sure you are as well, stay focused on yellow, or stay focused on rainbows if you're anything like Kirsty as well. Stay focused on that aspect that you truly desire to create in your world, and speak it every single day, and take the actions in correspondence with that.
Amazing. Thank you, Ollie.
Cool. Awesome.
Right then. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Any comments, please drop some comments below. Get in touch with Ollie, connect with Ollie, and we will see you very, very soon. So thank you so much, Ollie. Take care.
Awesome. Pleasure.
Bye.